Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's webinar, Move Over Bots, Make Room for VirtualAdvisor. My name is Stacy Matt. I'm the Product Marketing Manager here at Campus Logic. So before we get started, let's go over a few housekeeping items. You can adjust audio settings in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. The sound quality appears to be best if you dial in from a phone as opposed to using your computer speakers. You can submit questions throughout the webinar by typing into the questions area on the right, and we'll collect them and address them during our Q&A at the end. We will also be emailing a recording of today's webinar after it's complete. And if you'd like to learn more about VirtualAdvisor, you can check out our website at campuslogic.com. So without much further ado, here is our presenter, Chris Chumley, COO at Campus Logic.
Morning, everybody. Thanks for taking a little bit of time today to check out VirtualAdvisor and where we're going. Want to kick off today with just a few slides. I know everybody is always excited to get right to the software, and we will definitely do that here in a moment. I wanted to give you a little bit of background about VirtualAdvisor and about how it fits into the overall movement that Campus Logic is part of taking the financial aid office and moving it to being the Office of Student Financial Success. When we look at the idea of how does an institution promote student success, we believe there are three pillars of student success, and that historically the focus has been on that lower left-hand one on academic success. When schools invest, they're investing today primarily in things that help students in the classroom, or they're focused on academic readiness, academic preparedness. But when you look at overall success, there's really powerful drivers of what makes a student successful in terms of their financial success and ultimately the outcome of their education being career success. And so we believe that by focusing or investing in student financial success, that you can drive overall outcomes. So as we've looked at why is student financial success important? Again, I'm preaching to the choir here with the folks here on the phone. You all know that there's definitely a challenge in helping students get through the educational journey, getting them to completion. I focus on this number over here on the right, which was based on a study that was done 2 years ago that showed that there are approximately 3 million students that drop out of higher ed each year. And the top 10 reasons all relate to some friction point in the funding journey. And so there is definitely a need to help students with the financial aspect of their education. But when we started as a company, we looked at the financial aid office, and this may not apply to your institution, but as we looked at a lot of aid offices, what we found was a triangle that looks something like this. If you consider each of these bands to be where the professionals in the office were actually spending the most time. So they were spending a lot of time on administrative work, document collection, reviewing files, following up with students, packaging, refunding, those types of activities. And so that's where they spent the most time. And then there was a block of time being spent on what we would call routine support, helping students, answering questions, taking phone calls from parents, et cetera. And the smallest amount of time was actually spent on really giving personalized advising to students. And so our vision was, how could we flip the triangle so that the amount of time that the aid office was spending on administrative work could be greatly reduced? And then how could we help with routine support? And then ultimately, how could we enable deeper, more personalized, more targeted advising to students, for those students who really needed that deep help? And so as we started on that journey, we first went after trying to solve the issues around the administrative work. So in 2014, we launched our Student Forms product to eliminate the paper in the office, to reduce the amount of follow-up that was going on, ensure that student information was being collected completely and accurately the first time through the process. And then in 2015, we attempted to solve the confusion that many students and parents had around award letters, with the idea being that if we could provide them a richer, clearer multimedia experience, that we could reduce the amount of confusion and ultimately the amount of support that the aid office had to provide to students and parents. In 2016, we launched the first financial aid business intelligence tool, focused on trying to drive better student outcomes from a financial perspective by giving the financial aid office data visualization and analytics specific to them. In 2017, we moved more upstream, where we launched our Clear Cost product, which is an industry-leading net price calculator that provides a much higher accuracy of estimate to students of what they're actually going to be packaged for. It's a highly customizable and powerful tool for helping your students determine how they're going to pay for college. And then last year, we launched Scholarship Universe, which is a tool for managing the scholarship process. It has a matching engine that matches students to relevant opportunities both within your institution and then also to a vetted database of external scholarship opportunities so that students can close the funding gaps that they might have. So you might ask, well, what's going to happen in 2019? Well, we're actually releasing 2 products this year. We're going to talk today about VirtualAdvisor, but this is, as you can see, we continue to try to solve solutions along this journey. So when we talk about moving to student financial success, one of the big barriers is the routine questions and the manual effort that happens in the office. And so it's really hard to find time to give personalized advising or personalized support or troubleshoot those couple of students who have a lot of really difficult circumstances because there's so much other work going on. And so that's where the platform is intended to resolve those issues. The other big challenge when you talk about enabling student financial success are the students themselves. So what do students really want today? What are they, this student that we're working with, their experience, excuse me, their experience is that they spend their life predominantly online. So every other aspect of their life is digital, it's online, it's available to them on demand. So whatever they want to buy, read, view, they can do anytime they want, either by shopping on Amazon or determining what kind of media content they want to consume through something like Netflix, et cetera. They're also very accustomed to having guided instruction. These digital tools guide them through a process and help them get what they need when they need it. And the content is very digestible and easy for them to understand. And they're now used to being able to access these services wherever they are on whatever device they're on. So this is the expectation that they bring on campus now and what they're looking for in every service that they interact with. So that provides a lot of challenges to institutions who are trying to support them. So as we were looking at how to help provide this kind of support to students that they're looking for, we looked at other industries and asked what are other high-touch industries doing to try and manage customer support in an ever-present, always-on-demand world. And so we found that a lot of industries had moved to using artificial intelligence, AI, and chatbots to manage the sheer volume of interactions that they have with their customers. And I always want to focus on this 80% number here, the blue circle, because in other industries, they found that it's pretty reasonable to expect that somewhere around 80% of your routine questions can actually be handled by a chatbot. And so that's greatly reducing the amount of effort on your staff and enabling the staff to spend their time on that 20% that we all know are actually the harder ones to solve anyway. And so can we remove a lot of that through the use of technology? So we have a quick poll here that we want to ask you for some feedback, just to see out of all of you on the call, how many of you have made any kind of efforts around chatbots? How would you define your current chatbot efforts? And I won't read all the answers there. I'll let you guys read them. Everybody's already jumping on anyway. So probably a little bit of selection bias here. You're all on this call, so you're all currently investigating. That's pretty, but it sounds like there's been a lot of interest, and we have a lot of institutions on the call today. So this is something that now has become pretty front and center for higher education, the ability to use chatbots to provide more services to their students. So thank you for participating in the poll. So moving on here. What we've found, though, is that, thank you. Just get the poll out of the way there. Thanks. Poll results will be available to everybody after the call, too, if you're curious. But as we looked at the chatbot marketplace across multiple industries, but especially within higher education, what we found was that while there was some initial success by using a chatbot, most of them were pretty limited, and limited in that they were very reactive. They're basically what I call FAQ regurgitators. You can ask it a question, and there's a lot of value in them just in the fact that a student or a parent can ask a question and not know exactly what they're asking for. They don't have to know the right term. They don't have to form their search in a specific format, but they're really just responders, right? So there are a lot of FAQs. Again, 80% of the support calls, are easily supported through reactive support, but they don't. The chatbots don't really orchestrate the workflow for the student. They don't help the student know exactly where to go next, or drive them, or nudge them to a specific direction, and they definitely don't make recommendations. So we think that there's a lot of opportunity to move beyond a chatbot for financial aid to an actual virtual advisor. And so what do we mean by a virtual advisor? So our virtual advisor product, we announced it at NASFA. Some of you may have attended the session there, but it will be both a chatbot, and it will have additional functionality to help you advise at scale. So the chatbot portion that we're going to look at today will optimize workflows, and we'll show you how it will do that. It also can provide more complex dialogues with the student. So using AI, it can actually advise them and not just respond, but can also prompt them with questions that maybe they should be asking, and we'll show you that today also. It requires little to no training to teach it financial aid. Because of Campus Logic's financial aid expertise, we've actually been investing in teaching the bot general financial aid terms and content that you don't have to maintain. So with a lot of chatbots, there's an upfront cost for your institution. And so we take care of that for you. And then we're going to also, as we do with our other products, ensure that they're up to date with regs and the latest terminology. So if we no longer call it an award letter, the bot will know not to call it an award letter, as an example. And then it will also connect with systems on campus, and we'll talk about what that means. So that's really just the first feature of the Virtual Advisor, is a built-in industry-leading chatbot. It also will support things, I actually already kind of hit these, but one of the things I do want to point out is that it will be what we call multi-channel and multilingual. So again, one of the challenges with chatbots is that not everybody who accesses the chatbot is proficient in English. So we all, we live in a world where we have parents who speak other languages, we have international students, and then the need for being able to provide services to those students is just as important and just as critical. Also, students, as we mentioned, are used to being able to access these technologies through whatever medium that they like. So out of the box, the VirtualAdvisor supports text messaging. So you would be able to publish a text number, and they can use whatever messaging app on their phone that they use to text message to interact with the bot. Of course, there is an actual interface to the VirtualAdvisor that you're going to see today. So, and with a small code snippet, you can expose that widget or the bot itself on your own websites and within Campus Logic products. But it's also social media ready. So out of the box, you can publish the bot to tools like Facebook Messenger, Slack, Skype, whatever, again, Telegram, whatever messaging applications your students are already using, they can talk to the bot through those mechanisms. It will actually even come with an email box, and so students and parents who prefer email can actually have an email dialogue with the chatbot. So those are some of the key features. We're going to talk a little bit about the video content, the financial literacy library that it has access to within the demonstration, but again, providing content in a different format for students who prefer to watch an explanatory video rather than read text. So all of that will be included. The second major feature of the digital virtual assistant is an advising command center. And what we mean by that is we actually believe that that your AI works best when it works in concert with your staff. So giving your staff the ability to monitor these conversations and have intelligent handoffs to humans when it makes sense. So your staff can actually watch conversations that are occurring, and then we use AI that will determine the sentiment of that conversation. So you'll be able to filter by show me conversations where the student seems to be upset, or show me conversations where the parent seems to be confused. And then the human can actually intervene and join the conversation in a multi-chat scenario. In other situations, the chatbot may get to the point where it determines that the student really needs to talk to somebody. So your staff through the command center can be logged in and be available to receive chat messages. And so they can, again, while the student is in right there, there's no handoff, there's no email saying I wasn't able to answer this question, you should follow up with this student. They're able to jump in right there with two-way messaging and interact with the students online. And then, of course, be able to go back and pull conversations that have happened in the past to learn from them. But also, you know, as we know, sometimes students and parents don't remember the conversation that they had. And so being able to go back and see what was actually communicated from the bot will be a key piece. And then using our campus metrics tool, the ability to visualize these conversations, see your usage, see the length of conversation, how many students are using it, what types of things are they asking. So being able to really get a 360 view of the advising sessions that are going on with the bot. So the command center will be really powerful for extending your staff with the bot technology. And then the last feature, as we've talked to schools about their challenges with advising students, one of the common themes that we heard was that I sometimes can't run the students down. I can't reach them. It's hard to remind them of things. They get so many messages from across the campus. They get so many emails. We can't break through for things that are really important. To nudge them in the right direction towards that student financial success that we were talking about. So we've added to the VirtualAdvisor design the ability to build a list of students that you would like to message with and target them for a bulk text message. Now, from the student's perspective, these are all one-on-one conversations. But so, for example, let's say that I have a set of my students who are continuing students, but they haven't filled out their FAFSA for this coming year. I would be able to create a list of who hasn't completed the FAFSA but is already enrolled, and the system would generate the list for me. I can then compose a message and broadcast that message out through text messaging to all of my students. And then we provide a unified inbox that will allow for your staff to see responses. So if some students come back and say, you know what, I know I need to fill out the FAFSA, I don't remember where I need to go for that. You'd be able to answer that. But even better is most of the common replies that are going to come back will actually be fielded by the bot first. So if the student responds and says, yes, I plan on filling out my FAFSA today, the bot can encourage them and say, that's great, right? And staff don't need to look at that message, for example. The student may ask another question related to financial aid. Now that nudge may prompt other questions that, again, the bot can be the first line of defense to auto-respond to those messages. And then the intelligent unified inbox would filter the messages that need an interaction. And so now your staff have a platform for advising through two-way text messaging. So those are the three key features of the virtual assistant. We also believe now that VirtualAdvisor will be a really powerful addition to your office by itself, and it can be used completely by itself. But a differentiator we believe in the marketplace will be the fact that the bot is part of our platform. So the more of the platform you use, the more powerful the bot becomes, and we'll show you that. But it will have access because the user is authenticated, because the bot knows who the student is, and the bot has access to their data in the platform. It can answer questions about their award letter, about what they need to do for a verification, for example, follow-up questions related to their net price estimate in clear costs, et cetera. All these things are going to be able to give the virtual advisor even more information, where now I'm not just giving an answer to an FAQ that's a one-size-fits-all. Now I can actually respond to a student with information that's personalized to them. So let's jump over and take a look at the virtual advisor here. If you give me a moment just to transition. So for today's demonstration, what I've done is I've embedded the virtual advisor. You see the little widget over here to the right in our digital award letter product. So this is, for those of you who don't use the award letter product, this is you can provide a digital experience, multimedia experience that helps explain an award letter or truthfully any other complex process that you might want to walk a student through. But the virtual advisor can be embedded here. Now this same widget that I'm going to show you here can again be placed also on your websites, on web pages of your choosing, or this complete interaction that I'm going to have here in a moment can be had in any of those other channels. So if, imagine I'm scrolling through my award letter and I have a question about my financial aid or about my circumstances. Yes, there's a lot of great explanation here, including the ability to watch videos, et cetera. But furthermore, maybe I just want to open up the advisor and ask a question, right? So this could be after hours, this could be on a Sunday afternoon, this can be anywhere, anytime that I want. Now, I've branded the virtual advisor myself today, we call it Amy. But part of the settings in the virtual advisor is the ability for you to define your own persona, your own avatar, your own name, and branding for your bot, so that it projects the way you want it to interact with students. But so, for example, some of the common bot features that we're all used to seeing, right, is I can ask it a basic question. So, for example, if I'm looking at, I get this link, I open up this document, and I don't know what it really is. So what is an award letter, for example? And it will provide me a response. And again, this content, so what the AI does is it determines my intent. So the AI is determining what I'm really asking, so I can form that question a lot of different ways. It also spell checks that information and is familiar with common mistakes. So for example, it mentions the FAFSA in here, but if I mistype, actually let's do this, if I say, well, what is the FAFSA, and I misspell it, it can interpret that. So the AI is going to make a lot of corrections, and it's able to determine, especially the more it's used, the more it's able to discern what my intent is and get me the answer that I'm looking for. What this does is it makes the experience much smoother for a student or parent, because they don't have to ask the exact question, or they don't have to search on the right value if you have FAQs on your website, et cetera. So that's pretty powerful in and of itself. But we're also doing some other things. So for example, the ability to drive certain workflows. So maybe I ask it, what is verification? Actually, let's do this first. I ask it, how do I apply for financial aid? And in this case, it's going to give me an answer, but it's also able to provide me links that drive me or nudge me in the right direction. So in this case, it's going to nudge me towards the FAFSA. But again, some students don't want to take the time to read. And Campus Logic began about 1.5 years ago to build a library of financial aid content, financial literacy content, that we make available to our customers to embed in the award letter and in our products. But the VirtualAdvisor is actually intelligent enough and aware of that video library, so when applicable, it will actually give them the option of watching video content. So I can click on that and watch a quick, they're all typically 30 to 90 seconds, because that's all anybody can really watch. And I have my volume turned off on my computer, so I apologize for that. But and I can open this up and watch the video. So again, it's one of the ways that you can provide support to students using AI. So I asked it how to apply for financial aid. Now let's say that I got this email that says I've been selected for verification, and I don't know what that means. So I ask it, well, what is verification? So again, an FAQ or a typical bot would just tell them what it is. And so it would just answer, because that's what you asked. You only asked me what it is, so I'm giving you the definition. Pretty smart, right? But smarter is I start to anticipate what the next question will be, or I prompt for the question that the student actually should be asking. So in this case, the bot knows, it's aware because it's part of the platform, it knows that this institution, Desert Canyon here, is also a student forms customer. So it actually, because it knows who the student is, so, and if it didn't know who the student is, it would ask them to authenticate themselves, it would ask them to log in, and it will direct them to your single sign-on so that they can be authenticated. So I now know I'm talking to Chris. But so it's going to check the API to student forms and see, well, Chris is asking about verification. Let's see, has he been selected for verification, 1, and 2, does he have anything left to do? So I didn't ask if I had outstanding documents. I didn't ask if I've been selected for verification. I only asked what it means. So the bot's going to say, well, I checked, by the way, and you do have 2 tasks that you need to complete for verification. And then it's going to nudge me in that direction. Would you like to do that now? Now, maybe I only wanted to know what it is. I don't want to do anything about it right now. That's fine. I can say no. But most of the time, with a nudge, most of us are going to be curious and say, well, yeah, why don't I take care of that right now? So then it's going to give me what we call a dynamic card with the information. So now it's showing me I have 2 tasks related to clearing my ICER. The first one is a selective service, proof of selective service, and the other one is I need to complete the independent verification form. And if I click on that, I'm actually going to be directed into the Student Forms product. Now, I've talked too long, and I think that I've logged out. Yes, I did. Okay, so let me go ahead and log in. So again, if it didn't know who I was, this would be one of the examples of where it would ask me to log back in. But again, if I'm logged into the VirtualAdvisor because it's part of the Campus Logic platform, authentication into any Campus Logic product would not require me to sign in again. So instead, I would be directed smoothly into student forms for those two tasks. And I don't have it set up yet this way, but the VirtualAdvisor would also carry over with me because it's in our product and it knows the conversation we were having. So now it becomes my digital Sherpa, so to speak, as it continues on with me throughout the process. So that's one example. Maybe after looking at my award letter, I have the question of, so how can I find more scholarships? So again, depending on what products you're using, it may give me just a response and direct me to your website or direct me to your scholarship management system. But this bot is aware that Desert Canyon also uses Campus Logic Scholarship Management Platform, which has an adaptive matching engine and matches students to opportunities. So it's running the engine here, and it's returning to me, and it's saying, you can go to Scholarship Universe and find scholarships, but let me basically just check it for you here. This is where it's more of an assistant than a chatbot. So it checked for me, says I have 33 matching scholarships. Would I like to go see them? Yes, I would, absolutely, right? And so then it's going to say, well, here's the access to Scholarship Universe. And then because it still remembers I'm logged in, it will direct me directly into Scholarship Universe. So another example of how it can direct me into specific workflows if I'm using more of the platform. In addition, because the platform has the ability for you to load student information into it to facilitate scholarship matching or to generate an award letter, that data that's loaded into the platform, even if you're only using the VirtualAdvisor, you can still load as much SIS data as you would like using our CL Connect tool, and then the bot can answer questions about that data. So for example, we have an institution using our Scholarship Universe product that loads 135 fields of information every night on its entire student population. So the bot can then access that data, and using the AI to determine my intent, can then answer questions like, what's my balance? What's my GPA? What's my SAP status? Again, so it can become really intelligent about me as I feed it data from the SIS. So now it's going to ask me, what else can I help with? So I'm actually going to ask. So you'll notice that when I came in, or maybe you didn't notice, but I'll point it out, is that the language selector at the bottom was not selected. But as soon as I asked it a question, the AI determined what language I wanted to speak in, and it set that as the language for the conversation. So it does automatic language detection on 62 different languages. And we are a Microsoft partner. In fact, Microsoft's been very involved with the building of VirtualAdvisor, helping us use their AI tools and their what they call cognitive services. And one of the cognitive services is language detection and translation. It's the same AI that drives the translation engine for Bing. Now, you're probably thinking to yourself, nobody uses Bing. Everybody uses Google. But this is the one place in our research that we found that Bing is actually far superior in tests to Google in language translation. So if I come in and I ask it a question in Spanish, it will immediately set my language to Spanish and start talking to me. But maybe I start the conversation in one language and then want to change to another. So let's pick something a little bit more exotic than Spanish. I'm going to switch over to Czech, mostly because I'm assuming none of you can translate Czech. So you can't check me, but it does say, I can tell you that says basically, how can I help you? And so I'm going to ask it, where can I find, and then I don't know the word in Czech for scholarship, so I'm going to use Czechlish. Okay, and the engine is smart enough to say, well, scholarship is an English word, but it's actually stipendia in check, and so it's going to answer the question. And you can see it's actually going to take me back into the same Scholarship Universe flow that we saw before, except now it's completely gone to check. And I can go into other languages, right? So everybody is always interested in Spanish, so I can switch to Spanish, etc. And so on the first time in, or the first message from the text messaging, the bot is going to determine what language will be best for me, but I can manually update it at any point in time. So let's just clear here, and let's say that, oh, I always forget to change back to English now. I'm going to tell it, let's go back to English. So now again, as I mentioned before, one of the limitations of chatbots is that they tend to be just answer and response. Instead of actually engaging the student like a real person would and having a dialogue with them, or what we call real virtual advising. So in this case, maybe after looking at my award letter, I'm concerned with, as many students are these days, with how much student loan debt am I taking out. What if I asked it, how much should I borrow? So this is a question that's not an FAQ, right? It's a question related to me and my circumstances. In fact, I think you'll see that it answers the question very much like every financial aid professional answers it, which is, it depends on a few factors, right? So it's not a straightforward answer of how much you should borrow. And so it's going to say, you know, if you'd like, I can come up with an estimate, but you know, we want to get some more information from you so we can give you that estimate. So I'm going to say yes. Great. Are you going to be working while you're in school? Yeah, actually, I am going to be working. Well, perfect. Will you be making enough for your rent and utilities? In other words, you know, are your living expenses covered? And then in some cases, it's smart enough to say, look, you may want to just answer this way, right? If you're not sure, do this. So I'm going to say yes. So it says, well, it looks like books normally cost about $720. You can see that's actually over here on the award letter. So it has access to that data. Are you going to need help with that? Well, yeah, I am actually. Okay, that gives me what I need for the estimate. And so it's going to return to me an estimate of what I should really borrow. Now, I may be eligible for more than that. But in this case, because it's asked me some questions, knows my circumstances, it's able to give me a more targeted response. So it's going to suggest that I borrow about $800 because of what I have available. And then it gives me the detail below, but of course students won't read the detail, they'll just scan the card. But now it's going to actually start prompting me for questions I probably should have asked. Like, for example, here it asked me here at the end, would you like some more information about direct subsidized loans? Yeah, I guess I would, because I'm not really sure what a subsidized loan is. So it's going to give me a little bit more information. It's going to explain to me what the loan is and what the current interest rate is. But I also have a link if I want to go do some research on interest rates. And then it's going to prompt me again. Maybe I should be asking, what exactly does subsidize mean? Well, yeah, I didn't think of that, but sure. So again, this is where it becomes proactive. It's asking me questions now that I may not have thought to have asked. So it's going to explain to me what a subsidized loan is, and then it's going to recommend that maybe I should be asking, you know, what my payments are actually going to be. Yeah, that would be great. You can do that. That would be great. Okay. Yeah, there we go. So, and then now it's kind of exhausted those questions that it thinks I should have asked, and it says, okay, so now back in your court, is there anything else that I can help you with? So those are you know, a quick demo. I know we have some questions to go back to here in the chat, but that's the basics of the chatbot in the Virtual Advisor. So multi-language support built in, the ability to leverage other products or other data without a huge lift in integration, authenticated users, so it's a personalized message, personalized responses to the student, and then the ability to actually proactively guide a student to where they need to go. So those are some of the key things. So maybe if we could just have Stacy read out what some of the questions were.
Sure. So one is asking if there's Vietnamese as a language option.
Let's check. There's 62, and I don't have them memorized. So let's see here. So in Vietnamese, it looks like I don't read Vietnamese, but that looks like it.
Is the bot advanced enough to understand text abbreviated language?
Yes. So again, that's part of the AI, and it will learn those over time. But yeah, so basics, it comes out of the box understanding basic things like thank you and STY and so forth. Again, so some of the messaging abbreviations, especially if they're using the text messaging. Now, my kids are always coming up with new ones I don't know, so I have to be trained all the time. And so if it didn't understand one of those, then it might ask a follow-up question, and then also that would go into the loop for training the bot for the next time. So the more students run through it, the smarter it will get about abbreviations. Okay.
Can it respond to any functions outside of financial aid?
Yeah, so the content that it will come with trained out of the box will be basic, what I call federal financial aid content. But then you as an institution can train the bot on your localized content, and that can be content from other departments, because we know even though they're in talking to VirtualAdvisor in the context of financial aid, they may ask a question outside. So yes, the quote-unquote FAQ library can be expanded to multiple departments. And then we talked about also the ability for you to load actual data for the student from those other departments so that it can access that.
How many people can be on VirtualAdvisor at one time? 17.5 million,
or every student in higher ed. So I say that because so it's architected in a way to scale to very large numbers. It's hosted on Microsoft Azure, which scales up. So really, as many students who want to use it can use it. Yeah.
Are you able to edit the responses of the bot if you do not like them?
Yeah. So there will be personalization of the responses for the content that we include in the bot. Again, like I said, other content would be your specific responses, your localized content, but you'll also be able to personalize the content if you don't like our wording. Yeah.
Does it interface with Banner?
Well, so it will through our CL Connect tool. In the first release, that will be a nightly process, right? It'll be a batch process. I think this question they're asking about live. I think they mean real time. It will not be making real-time calls to your SIS in version 1. That is something, though, that we intend to do through Ethos if you're an Ellucian partner. So that will be coming in the future.
For the loan questions, such as what will my monthly payments be, etc., what other products would be needed?
Yeah, so in that case, that's based upon data that we train in the Dialogue Manager, so you don't have to use any other products for that.
Great. A lot of the examples you were showing had a lot of text answers, but what is the size of your video library?
So today, the video library, I think the current counts were over 50 videos, and will be over 100 by the end of the year.
And could you describe the process of training the VirtualAdvisor?
Yeah, so the actual details of training the VirtualAdvisor are still being ironed out as far as what the interface will look like, but the system will log both questions that the bot could not answer, so that you can train it to an answer. Also, it will have the functionality for students. We don't have this in the demo yet, but it will have functionality for the student to rate the answer. When the AI thinks that the answer may, just like if you take Google Maps, if you've ever used Google Maps at the end of the trip, it asks you, how did we do getting you there? The VirtualAdvisor will also ask the student in some cases if some of the questions seem to be a little shaky, it will ask them to rate the quality of the answer, and that will go into a feedback mechanism for training the bot. The responsibility for training the bot will be dual in nature. So any training of kind of generalized content, we will have a team managing that, similarly to how we manage our external database in Scholarship Universe. But then also you will have an interface, a dashboard of questions that the bot needs training on, that you can provide what the answer is to that. So you can train it to your local content.
How will the student know that if they log in, they can get information pertinent to their particular situation?
So again, depending on where they access the bot, if they access the bot from any of our products, they'll be automatically logged in. But in cases where they may be coming in unauthenticated, it will depend on the bot's determination of their intent. So if the bot's able to determine that the intent of the student is to get something personalized like their GPA, and they're not authenticated, their response will be, I would love to help you with this, but I need to know who you are. So I'm going to direct you to log in, and then we can continue the conversation.
We've gotten a couple questions about the timeline, if it's currently in testing, if you could just expand a little bit about that.
Yeah, I think I have a great segue slide here to that. That I'll just pop on and we can go back to our next poll. But right now, we are training the bot through Q3. In Q4, we're looking for what we call preview partners. So these would be institutions that would be interested in being some of the first to use the product and allow their students to run through it and help train the AI. And then we'll go into general availability in Q1 of 2020. Okay. Do we have another question? Yeah.
We do. If you could explain more about the monitoring, for example, more about the sentiment analysis.
Yeah. So the way the monitoring will work is, so again, we're using a technology called sentiment analysis. It's another AI service from Microsoft that's able to do text analysis and make those determinations. And so there will be a label on the conversation. So when I go to the dashboard, I can choose to filter, just show me conversations where the student is currently angry. And then I can open up the full transcript, view those, and choose whether to join the conversation or not. There may be some instances where I choose not to, but so that's how you would monitor. So we're using AI and text analysis to determine what their sentiment is, and then the advisor can choose to join the conversation. But there are also going to be times where the bot suggests or recommends to the student, you should talk to somebody. I can't answer the question, and I have advisors online. I have operators ready to talk to you, and it will route them to a human. Okay. I'll go ahead and address the pricing question also. The answer on pricing is we'll have pricing here in September. So if you're interested in knowing more about that, we're still doing some pricing analysis based upon the costs of the services and the market. We'll be able to provide more information on pricing shortly. And if you're already talking to a representative from Campus Logic, they'll be able to provide that to you. Or, and we're going to talk about, I think we're going to talk about this here at the end, is you can actually go to Campus Logic, the VirtualAdvisor page, and you can sign up to be on the list to be considered for the preview program and also to receive updates as we will be doing future webinars to show the advisor command center, to show the mobile messaging, but also through those channels we'll let you know when additional updates are available.
We also have another question about videos from other companies and putting those inside of VirtualAdvisor.
Yeah, why would you want to do that? No. So again, as part of the training, the content, if you have institutional video content that you've developed or you've purchased from somebody else, then you should be able to link that content I say that with some caveats depending on how your vendor is authenticating and white labeling IPs. It may not be possible on their side. So that would be something to be worked through and tested during onboarding.
We kind of answered this before, but are there any plans to roll out to other business areas of the university?
So again, right now, with the first release of the product, we are focused very solely on being the best virtual assistant within student financial success, as we do with all of our products. I get asked all the time, can student forums work in the academics, et cetera? We are very focused intentionally because we believe there's been a lack of investment in student financial success in the past. But as the bot grows and develops, we do expect it to expand into being able to do some of the assistant skills that I showed today in other areas. But as I mentioned, you can definitely load content so that it can answer questions or get data from other areas. Because we know that students, because they're there, they'll suddenly have a question about, well, when does class start? Or when is the last day to drop? Or, you know, when is the pool open? Because they're there, they'll ask. And so you don't have to limit the content that you load or that you train it on to the financial aid department. But the things like the orchestrated workflows and the video delivery, et cetera, those in this first release are going to be financial aid specific. Yeah, so the next question is about how you have the text messages. So there's a couple of different ways you may have the mobile numbers and the opt-in from the student. Once again, advantage of using the Campus Logic platform is through all of our applications, we have the ability for students to manage their SMS notifications and subscriptions. So that's the first way that you can manage it. The second is that student data import that I mentioned earlier, where you can load as many pieces of information as you would like about the student. You can also load mobile numbers and subscriptions that you have from other systems on campus. If it doesn't have the mobile number for the student, then it will send them an email as an alternative.
So we got to most of the questions. If I did not say yours, if it was not answered, we'll definitely make sure that we follow up with an email and answer you directly. And so I'll pass it back to Chris to wrap up.
Yeah, I think we wanted to finish today quickly with one last poll. And that is, my eyesight's not that good. What's keeping you from implementing VirtualAdvisor at your institution? And so what are your barriers to implementing a chatbot or a VirtualAdvisor at your school that we might be able to help with? All right. Well, again, thank you everybody for participating in the poll. And again, just a reminder that if you'd like to receive future updates, or if you'd even be interested in exploring being part of the preview in Q4 to help train the bot, that you can go to our website at campuslogic.com, select VirtualAdvisor from the product menu, and there's a sign up there. You just provide your email and your institution, and either your account director or customer success manager will be in touch with you. So we thank you for your time today. Oh, they're telling me I've got one last important slide. Oh, yes. This one is the promo. Sorry. So for those of you who might be interested in our next webinar, which has to do with managing scholarships using artificial intelligence, using our scholarship management system called Scholarship Universe, that webinar will be on Thursday, September 5th at noon. You're probably all on the list to get our emails about that. But again, if you haven't received anything and you'd be interested, if you reach out to your customer success manager, or your regional director, they can help get you signed up for that webinar also. That webinar is being held in co-sponsorship with the National Scholarship Provider Association. So
I'll be providing the link to that in the recap email with
perfect.
The link to this recording.
Excellent. And, you know, full disclosure, it'll be me again, so if you did enjoy listening to me, we'll just send you the deck. But again, thanks for taking some time out of your busy day to see how we're progressing with VirtualAdvisor, and we hope to bring you more webinars on more functionality here shortly. Thanks, everybody.